just for people who don't know, Stephen Cannell/Cannell did the A-Team, Greatest American Hero, Rockford Files.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and he's still. He's about 68 now, right? 69, and he's still. Now he cranked out a Greatest American Hero movie script, right? Doesn't he have a script out there?
Yeah, he did. Just to digress 1 second, Stephen, other than Aaron Spelling, is probably one of the most successful independent producers in the history of television.
Right.
I think the number is about 43 different TV series that he's created over the years.
Wow.
Jeez.
And more recently, he got out of the TV business, and he started just writing books. And he's written at least a half a dozen or so bestsellers now. And recently he did make a deal for the A-Team is in pre-production for a film, and Greatest American Hero. I read a very, very funny script about 6 or 8 months ago of a retelling and updating of Greatest American Hero, and it was I applauded Stephen for it because it was just wonderful.
Does the script of the movie, the remake, does it kind of retell the story, like restart it?
What he does, and this is Stephen's word, he kind of hangs the story on the same premise, but he hangs it a little bit differently. You know, it's very modern. Obviously, it's going to be. You know, we didn't have computer animated graphics at the time, so there was no CG. Right. Now they have. They have to rise to what the industry standard is with Iron Man and Transformers, and it's going to be told in that fashion. It's going to be just spectacular.
Well, that's almost a shame because, I mean, to me, some of the appeal of the original TV show was, no computers, real low tech. I mean, when you crash into a brick wall, styrofoam brick walls, fall on you. I mean, I don't want to see them do to Greatest American Hero what they did to Land of the Lost,
Oh, I don't think it's... Well, Will Ferrell, he has his own brand of humor, And I think that one of the reasons The Greatest American Hero initially worked was that it was... and the way I always played it was a real guy in an absurd situation. So we always played it for the truth. And Will Ferrell and some of the comedians, Ben Stiller and whatnot, they have a more comedic bent on things, you know what I mean?
I watched an episode last night, the 200-mile-an-hour fastball, which I guess is that like the first episode of season 2 or something like that? I'm geeking out a bit here, but I was struck by how earnest the show. I mean, the show was funny, and cheeky, and Bob Culp was great, but you were such an earnest character, and kind of sweet and.
I was an idiot. Come on, you can say.
No, not an idiot at all. I mean, you were kind of hurt when the school kids didn't want to come see you play baseball. I don't know. I was really charmed by it all over again.
Oh, that's so great.
So
it's funny. I didn't really have an opportunity at the time because you're working so much. You don't have a time to to see these episodes. But when the DVDs came out, I became a fan like everybody else out there. I became a fan of the show. I didn't realize just what there was, at the time, until I saw it all these years later. And then I go, oh, my God, that was some funny stuff.
Hey, I want to ask, were you on a rig when you were flying in front of a green screen? Is that what they were doing?
Well, it changed during the course of the show. When we first did it, it was just after Donner had done the first Superman, right?
Right.
So we inherited some of the techniques that they used on that picture, where they actually hung me with some piano wires on an apparatus from my hip, and they flew me from one end of a stage in Paramount that was painted entirely blue, and they rigged the cameras, and they would zoom me down to the concrete and then zoom me up, 35 feet in the air, and from one end to the other, there was about a 120-foot span, I think. And that's the way we did it the first season. But by the time the second season rolled around, they were already beginning to experiment with green screen and using computers. So what would happen is that they would put me on a harness, but they would fly the camera around me instead of me flying around the camera.
Did you like doing all that stuff?
Oh gosh, it was great. I love doing all that stuff. I was pretty pretty darn egocentric, and at the time, and I thought I could do anything. So I tried to do as many stunts as they would let me do. I would do all that stuff.
All right, here's the deal I got to ask. Did you ever say, can I learn to fly in this episode? I mean, how come it was like even season 2 you were still kind of like that clumsy flyer? Didn't you ever say, by now I think I got a hang of it?
Yeah, I don't know. That was kind of the powers that be. It was. I think the show is more than the one trick, but more than just that premise. But it was one of the things that was kind of charming that they wanted to retain. So it wasn't up to me.
All right, talking about the movie, I'll ask you this right now. Obviously, there's a role for you there. Are they going to let you be a Ralph Hinckley again, or are you going to be like his, Jedi master?
No. I don't know exactly what Steven is talking about, but I do know that it's paying homage to the original show, and I think the fans want to see it too. We'll all have small little cameo roles. I'll be pushing a broom, and Bob Culp will be a security guard or something, and like Connie will be the CEO. I don't know, but I don't think it'll be much more than that.
You've been asked this before. I'm going to ask you again. Who do you want to play you? Who do you think would be a good Ralph Hinckley? 2009, 2010.
Oh, well, gosh, years ago they had talked about, because this has been around. This was over at Disney for a while, like 2003, 2004. They talked about it, but it never got off the ground. So Steve got the rights back, and I think they're making a deal with Fox. Although, don't hold me to that. This is only third party. But years ago, they talked about Owen Wilson for the role, and I think he would have been great. He's certainly got that. He's got that great edge to him.
Yeah, but
I don't know that he's a little long in the tooth right now to do it now. All these, 6 or 7 years later. One of my favorite young actors, if he had not already done a great big action adventure film, would have been Shia LaBeouf. I think the kid is just brilliant. I used to watch him with my daughter when he was doing Even Stevens,
right. And
I would say, geez, that kid is fantastic.
Now, how old were you when you were about, 30 years old when you took the part originally?
No, I was late 27, maybe I just turned 28, maybe.
Wow. And you'd already kind of cut your teeth with Carrie.
Yeah, I did Carrie, and, I've been a professional actor. I started in the theater, so I was always a thespian, started at South Coast Repertory. I did a lot of repertory theater and played a bajillion parts. And in fact, when Steven approached me for the Greatest American Hero, I was on stage with Diana Wiest and a bunch of the people from the Guthrie doing a Michel Tremblay play called Bonjour la Bonjour at the Manhattan Theater Club. Yeah, but I had done a lot of TV and film by then, but Carrie really broke me out.
Now, and when you auditioned for Carrie, you were also auditioning for another little small movie, right?
Yes. Yeah. George Lucas and Brian De Palma were conducting auditions at the same time, which is really unusual. I think that they were consolidating their efforts and really looking at all of the young Hollywood up-and-comers at the time, all the young women and all the young men. Me, Kurt Russell, and I lucked out in doing an auditions for. We did a reading, which I think was immortalized now on the DVDs that came out when George re-released that.
Oh, really? We can find your audition for Luke Skywalker, huh?
You can with Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell, I had no idea. I knew about you, but I had no idea about Kurt Russell. I think you would have been.
Kurt and I did the audition together. I think he's always blamed me for him not getting that part of Han Solo.
I think you would have been a great Luke Skywalker.
I don't know. Mark Hamill did an awesome job. He was the right guy at the right time, and I didn't do so bad. I got to play Tommy Ross and Carrie, so I've had a decent career myself.
So it's like 6 degrees of William Katt because you were dating Amy Irving.
I was, yeah.
Who then went on to marry Steven Spielberg.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you auditioned for... you're all over the place. You're like, it's like, what's it, Zelig, You're like, in great pop culture moments, William Katt is there.
Wow. Hey, I'm somebody.
Yeah.
I got to call up my wife right now and tell her.